Hi everyone, this is Nick. Welcome to Duality Repair, and this is an NAD 2200 power amplifier. This video is going to be a quick follow-up to the previous video, which was specifically about resolving the protection issue that we saw with this unit. In this video, I hope to document the rest of the servicing and testing that I want to perform. To start, I spent quite a bit of time replacing just about every electrolytic in this unit, including the 4 that are in the input board in the back here. I say just about because the only replacements I could find for these 4 electrolytics in the power supply section were extremely expensive, something like $30, $40, $50 a piece, and that sounded excessive for a unit like this, and these are testing and measuring just fine, so I'm going to leave those in. Here's the power supply section, and hopefully you can see we're missing some parts here. These are the 2 relays, and I did pull these out. Let's flip the board over and I'll show you why. During the last video, as I was replacing the positive and negative 18-volt regulators, which are here and here, I noticed some really ugly looking solder joints in this area and in this area. I noticed they were tied to the relay, so I pulled the relays to inspect, and I'm glad I did, because hopefully you can see just how ugly some of these are. This pad is almost completely gone, that one's gone, over here, that one's in really rough shape, and so is this one. These aren't even going to be usable anymore, and so when I install some relays, I'm going to have to use some jumper wires to get these functional again. I also inspected the relays, and I decided to replace those as well. Let me show you what I have for that. On the left is one of the original relays, and although both are still functional, it's really difficult to clean these properly, and so I just decided to replace them. Of course, these aren't manufactured anymore, but I was able to find this. So it's not the same manufacturer, but it does have an identical pinout to the original, which is great. The only difference here, these 2 pins in the back are a little bit larger than these 2 on the original. It's going to pose a little bit of a problem, but I'll show you how we get around that. Might seem a little bit extreme, but the only way I'm able to get these relays to fit is to drill out these 2 holes just a little bit larger than where they're at right now. And so I'm going to use a 5/64 inch bit. As long as you're really careful, there shouldn't be any problem with this. Before installing the relays, I'm going to add just a little bit of this silicone adhesive to the edges where it actually makes contact with the board. Each relay had only 2 usable pads, so for this relay here and for this relay here and here. For the damaged pads, I'm going to replace the missing traces with some jumper wire. I don't have very much experience with modifications like that, but I have to say I think it turned out pretty good. But let's see if it works. All right, no smoke, comes out of protection again, that's great. Let's see if we can set up the bias and DC offset for each channel. All right, the unit's been on for at least 15 minutes, and we're looking at the right channel's idle current and DC offset measurements. The spec for idle current is 7.5 plus or minus 0.5 millivolts, so we're sitting right around 7 millivolts. We're going to call that good. And the spec for DC offset is 0 plus or minus 5 millivolts. So this is well within spec. No adjustment needed on the right side. Let's go to the left. On the left channel, the DC offset looks good, but the idle current can use a little bit of help. We'll see if we can adjust that up. That'll work. So both left and right channel idle current DC offset adjustments are done. Let's take a look at the output. Per the service manual, this unit should be able to put out about 100 watts per channel, or 40 volts peak to peak, and that's exactly what you see on the scope here. This is a 1 kilohertz sine wave, and both channels are very evenly matched. Let's increase the frequency. Here's 15 kilohertz. Looks great here too. So I'd say this one is done. This was a very satisfying service and repair. I enjoyed this one a lot. Hope you did too. Thanks for watching.